Let's talk basketball recruiting. We got Bubu Benjamin coming on an official visit. We're going to talk about that and some of the offseason additions to the Wisconsin basketball program. All that and more in today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? My name is Ryan Herrings, your host of Locked On Badgers, here to cover your team every single day. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in, however you found us. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Today's show is a recruiting show, also brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is the official college recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockdowncollege. Terms and conditions do apply. And we are joined today by the always intelligent and insightful Jason Jordan, Sports Illustrated recruiting basketball director, Locked On's college basketball recruiting insider. Jason, thank you so much for stopping by the show, man.
Oh, man, happy to be here.
All right, so I want to start here. Wisconsin has pivoted a little bit to what I would call kind of an unknown or lesser known 6'7" wing on the recruiting trail in 2023. Bubu Benjamin, originally out of Alberta, Canada, kind of an athletic wing. He has an official visit coming up. What can you tell us about his game, Bubu Benjamin?
I really like him. Had a big July with West Coast Elite. Excuse me. Just 6'7", long and wiry, checks off a lot of boxes on both ends of the floor. And he plays with an unrelenting, I like to say, motor. But he definitely can, score on all three levels, knock shots down. He made the Canadian national team, but he didn't really stroke it from the three. And at 6'7", that puts him at pro size. And, a guy that I think in one of the West Coast Elite games, one of the coaches out there told me he had made 7 threes in one game. So highly efficient, but he was efficient for the whole tournament. Right. But the one game that he really blew up, he had 7 threes in one game. So obviously that's one of the stronger parts of his game. But a guy who I think people just haven't seen enough of, or he'd probably, have a higher status in the rankings department. I'm always kind of a little iffy on that anyway. But a guy who could definitely step in and help. Definitely would be a great addition to that class, that 2-man class now.
Is there, like you mentioned, maybe he hasn't been seen a lot.
Yeah.
Is this a guy that you think the longer this goes on, maybe he blows up a little bit more? Or do you think there's something else that's maybe outside of the visibility that's keeping some programs away?
No, I think the longer it goes on, this is one of the guys, coaches tell me all the time, we got to get this done. We got to get it done. Got to get it done. He would probably fit that bill, because the longer he stays out, the more he's going to, his stock will ascend and more players will jump in. So I'm sure you guys will put a little pressure on because, he's a guy who definitely has a lot of upside. And I think his best basketball is ahead of him.
And that's something that I want to talk about. It feels to me like a lot of what Wisconsin does, and this is painting with a broad brush here, so it's not always true, but they target a lot of more skilled, I don't want to, certainly not finished products, but players that maybe aren't quite as raw, but maybe don't have that high ceiling. When I look at Bubu's game, there's an element of athleticism and just kind of long, lanky frame. Like what kind of upside, let's say he gets in the right system, because that matters. He develops, he works, he puts, like you said, relentless motor, long frame, long arms, athletic. What kind of ceiling are we talking about here?
Well, I mean, you can't coach a guy to be 6'7" and stroking threes, right? So, and the 3-point shot is the ultimate equalizer. So, at that size and with that specific skill set, because that's where the game is going now, he could be a guy who could make an impact in year one for sure. And, potentially an all-league guy. And from there, we just got to see how it develops. But, I mean, he checks off a lot of boxes and he can guard multiple positions. So you're going to be able to use him interchangeably with different lineups. So, I always preach the wave. I wouldn't even say the new wave because it's not all that new, but is flooding the court with playmakers who can knock down shots. And then if he happens to be 6'7", win-win, right? So he definitely would fit that bill of the new wave that I said it again, the wave that coaches are on now. I can tell you that for an absolute fact, where coaches are that's what they want to do: flood the court with playmakers and use interchangeable parts. So he would definitely fit that bill.
Also seems like a player, and you hit on this a little bit, but let's talk defensively for a second. Seems like this type of guy with that length, that explosiveness. He could guard 4s, 3s, 2s, right? I mean, it seems like a lot of defensive versatility there as well.
He can guard point guards too. Like he's quick. Like he takes up a wide range, right, because of his length. So and he has the footwork to guard. You know, I mean, he's not going to be like a 94 feet guy, but you know, in the half court set, you know, he's covering a lot of real estate. You know, so he can step over. He's good off the switch, show, and recover. Really good with that as well. So you know, a lot of things in the positive, which is why I'm sure you guys will turn that pressure up next month when he comes.
You mentioned he made the Canadian national team. For those of us, myself included, really that maybe don't know a lot about that level of competition. You know, what does that say about a prospect making that? Or is that like, if you look in football, you're talking about the Under Armour All-American games. Is that kind of that level of distinction?
No, it's probably a little higher, especially there, right? Because Canada's a hotbed.
Mm-hmm.
It has been for years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So there's a lot of top prospects that have come out of Canada and are still there now and are coming up, and I mean very young. Trust me, I hear about them all the time. So that's big. That's big. That says a lot about where he's at right now and where he projects to be, because those guys, whereas here in the States to make our national team, you don't have to be like, it's all about pieces. Like that, the USA, you see a kid makes USA basketball's U17. It's like and he's like, oh my goodness, he's number 50. I would think that would be reserved for the top 25. But they make a team. So it's not just about, I've seen top 10 kids get cut. Mm-hmm. I've seen top 5 kids get cut from our team. So it's different. In Canada, I think they're more talent based. So, it's the more talent because they're more wired as a team, right? And over here, it's a little different. It's, it's just where we're at. You know what I'm saying? We're a little more, I don't want to step on toes. We're a little more showy, a little more flashy,
sure,
over here. Whereas over there, they from the sandbox, they're playing as a team, they're playing their roles, that kind of thing. So they're taking the best players. So he was one of the best players, and he made the team, and that's very telling.
Is there and you may not know this, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, any type of feel on timeline for Bubu? Is he do you know if he's trying to take this out a ways or if he's looking to kind of close this up pretty quick if he finds a spot?
So I've been told that it's not something he wants to do immediately, but then the other part of the conversation is, but if he feels like it's he's ready, I think he would do it. So no pressure for Greg Gard, but get her done, brother. Get her done.
No, I like it for sure.
Yeah.
All right, coming up, I'm going to keep you on. We're going to keep Jason on the show. Talk a little bit about the 2 big Wisconsin offseason acquisitions in the transfer portal. We're going to talk about that next on Locked On Badgers. But first, today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. Our friends at BetOnline remain the fastest and easiest way for all of your online sports betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events as the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every single league: baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, esports, fighting sports. It's all there. And there's a reason it's become the favorite among Locked On hosts. It's easy to use. The website is super easy to navigate. All the information you need is there for both sports betting and sports news. So it's a one-stop shop. Online Vegas games, roulette, blackjack, everything you need in one spot. Live in-game betting, futures betting, right? If you have a great feel on where I talked about a bunch, it sounds like Kevin Durant is staying with the Nets now. If you had a feel where Durant was headed, you could have put a few bucks on a futures for Kevin Durant to the Nets. And now how does that change the Eastern Conference outlook? Maybe you want, put a few dollars on the Nets in the Eastern Conference, or maybe you thought he was going to the Suns in the Western Conference and not such a good bet now. So a great place if you have a little sports knowledge. Do it responsibly. BetOnline, grab your mobile device, head to the website today, learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Badgers really your first listen every day as we continue to build this community. In no short part with the great guests we're able to get on like Jason, bringing a new level of insightfulness to the Badger community. I also want to encourage everyone to check out Ultimate College Football Preview. It's a 7-episode preview. Get you ready for the college football season. college experts, local team experts, Odyssey college football experts. It's all there in one spot. 7-episode preview. Search for the Ultimate College Football Preview on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. All right, we're going to bring Jason back on the show. As promised, we have much more to talk about. I want to start here. Wisconsin had a lot of holes on their roster coming into this offseason. A lot of players, obviously Johnny Davis, Brad Davidson left. So they filled the first one with Max Klesmit, 6'3", transfer out of Wofford. What can you tell us a little bit about his game? How well is this going to translate for the Badgers?
Yeah, I think he's probably going to be a capable scorer. I know he had that big game at the end of the trip. But I think his best, obviously he's going to help you most from the perimeter, just scoring from the perimeter. And, I think he can score in bunches, a guy who can score at all three levels. And, a guy who I think he's an underrated playmaker. A lot has been made of his shooting ability, but I think his ability to make plays for himself and his team and get downhill, he gets to his spots really well. But I think he's a guy who would definitely alleviate some of the scoring from Jordan when he's on the floor, for sure, because he can score in bunches and quickly. I think he thrives in that role. But I think he's a guy who can come off the bench and give you guys a boost in the scoring department.
So definitely, a guy averaged, again, at Wofford, 14.9 per game, 34% from three.
Yeah, that's no slouch. Yeah, that's big. That's big. Yeah.
So do you think players maybe at that mid-tier level, the non-big programs, the Wright States, the Woffords, the Butlers, right? When they transfer up, do they kind of get typecast as, when you see a guy like Max Klesmit, well, he's probably not athletic enough, or he's probably, when I watch him, he's not going to be an elite plus Big Ten athlete on the wing, but I think he's athletic enough to guard and to play in space.
Yeah, I liken it to, you look at March, right? So people are like, oh, can he play at this level? And, but he played in that league. I mean, mid-majors and honestly, to some degree, low majors they're catching up. They're catching up. They're doing really well in March, and so, I look at a guy like him. Do I think it'll transfer over? Absolutely. Yeah. In that system and in the role that he'll probably be in, absolutely. I think he can give you positive minutes, and that's all you really want from a transfer, especially in year one. I definitely think he would totally fit that bill. Is he athletic enough to? Sure. Enough? Yeah. Will he thrive? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I think he can get the job done. I don't expect him to come in and be an all-league guy, but will he give you positive minutes? I definitely think he'll give you positive minutes.
Well, and that's part of it too, right? That I think people don't talk about enough. Like, you have a guy, and we're going to talk about Kamari McGee next. You have players who were the best or second best player on their respective team. Well, he's coming up to a Badgers team with Tyler Wall, Stephen Crow, Chucky Hepburn. He's the fourth option on a Badgers team. Like, in the Big Ten, if you have a guy who's 6'3", shoots 35% from three as the fourth option, to me, that works. Like, you're not asking him to be the second leading scorer anymore.
Right. People think, and this is the nature of people, right? But especially the nature of fans, is that you have to hit a home run with everybody. The reality is the double's really good. You know what I'm saying? If you get on base, that single is really good. The single could bring the guy from third home and, score you a run. So, you got to think about it like that too. Fans get a little, they want an all-league guy from the portal, but to your point, fourth option, if that's what he has to do and he settles into that role, and a lot of times transfers, especially at the mid-tier level, i.e. the guys who weren't on our top 25 transfer list, which totally means nothing. I mean, they're still great players. They definitely settle into a role, because you have to think about it like this. A transfer has always, it's like a guy like Klesmit has always wanted Wisconsin to go on an official visit to Wisconsin, right? So I'm not saying he's just happy to be there. I think he knows that he belongs, but I think he knows his role too. You know what I'm saying? And I think a transfer, because they've been exposed to this level and the business that is this level, and what comes with being with this level, they know they better grab that role quick. And I think as long as he buys into that, and transfers tend to more than freshmen, I think he'll be successful.
That's a really interesting point. I want to take that for one more second, because fans, and to your point, you see that 5-star players transferring, like this 4-star players transferring, and jaw-dropping athleticism. But that player's coming in. He's coming in because those. Again, painting with a very broad brush here, but they're coming in to get a bunch of shots or to get a much bigger role. And if you're coming into a team like Wisconsin, which not that, Wisconsin's the only team that's very culture heavy, right? Wisconsin really invests in culture. People need to come in for roles. Like, can you talk a little bit about just the culture of finding the right fit in the transfer portal, not just the flashiest toy?
Yeah, well, and that's kind of more so the lane of the transfer portal because, like I said, that coaches know, and I've had these conversations ad nauseum. They like transfers because, and that's they know what it is at this level, and they know there's more of a well, I ain't gonna say in the top tier because I've heard some horror stories about the Hollywood of the top tier of the transfer portal, but like guys in the mid tier. They know they're like, oh yeah, coach, yes sir, coach. They buy in really quickly, and this is from coaches, Power 5 coaches on down. They buy in really quickly, and they accept that role because they're happy to be a part of something bigger than them, and they're happy to be playing in front of a bigger crowd and in a bigger conference. And they're coming from smaller crowds and where people don't really come to the games that much, and now they're a part of somebody. So a team like Wisconsin, who's definitely going to be playing in March, they're excited about that, and they want to be an intricate part of that run. And so, guys, again, I preach it all the time. Buy into that role, we're going to have some success. And so a guy like that is totally going to buy into that role.
I want to ask you here, just for people listening, because I think people's ears probably peaked up a little bit. No names, no programs, no specifics, absolutely. But you said you hear some horror stories because Wisconsin fans, both football and basketball, often say we need to do whatever we can to get that top. Like, what's an example of a horror story? Again, no names, not yeah. So
I had a coach, a well-known coach. This is from his mouth, so it ain't secondhand. Well-known coach tells me this is April, like late April, mid to late April, when it's really popping. Like the transfer portal is OD, right? So he tells me, when I say I'm gonna stop before I say his name.
No.
All right, so calls this kid, high profile transfer. Personally calls this kid, and he's like, "Hey, it's so and so, man. Just wanted tell you, I wanted to reach out personally. I wanted to be the first point of contact." And I'm paraphrasing, but this is essentially what he's saying. I want to be the first point of contact. We're really interested, man. We got to get you on campus. I think we could do some special things. I really, really need you in my system. The first words out of this kid's mouth to this very well-known coach was, "Yeah, coach. No disrespect. Would you mind calling my agent? Like, I probably shouldn't talk first." Yeah.
My God.
That is a fact. That is from the horse's mouth. So
wow.
So if you think that guard is dealing with that, you know what I'm saying? Like, most coaches ain't dealing with that. Now, be clear, they never made contact with the kid again. They did not call the agent, and they were like, "Okay, all right, cool, man. Well, you have a nice day," and moved on.
Right.
Never called the agent. Never.
Wow.
Even agent reached out to them, and they were like, "We're good."
That's wild.
That we want in our system. So you gotta, fans don't know stuff like that, and it's like, but you gotta do everything. You gotta have a line. And I talked to Mike Boynton about this at Oklahoma State, and he's like, coaches got to have a line. And there's certain things you can't have that. You can't have that. You're setting yourself up for a monster, and it's coming. So
that's wild, man. You imagine 5 years ago, wherever you were, thinking 5 years you'd be having that conversation with the coach. Like that would be that out in the open. How much has changed? That's just wild because I don't think. Badger fans, and myself included, like I'm a Badger fan, right? And you always want to take that next step, but like you said, you hit singles, you hit doubles, and Max Klesmit's going to step in and probably be a 10-point a game scorer, potentially 9 to 10. Going to shoot 35% from three as the fourth option, and you're going to get a lot of winning basketball with a dude like that, like you said, buys into the culture.
That's it. And who's more happy than fans that are playing second weekend in March? Like, that's what you got to
Yeah.
tell yourself. Like, and how do you get there? You get there by people buying into their roles and playing their roles and not trying to, do too much. And that's what you get with a guy like him. Great piece.
No, I love it. All right, coming up on Locked On Badgers, we have one more to talk about. Kamari McGee, who is low-key kind of one of my favorite additions of the offseason.
I like him.
We're going to talk about that next on Locked On Badgers with Jason Jordan. Welcome back to Locked On Badgers. Thank you for making this one of your first listens every single day. I really, really do appreciate it. Jason Jordan, Sports Illustrated recruiting director for basketball, Locked On's college basketball recruiting insider. Jason, definitely want to give you a chance to share anything you've got going on, social media handles. Where can people find your very good work?
Yeah, Jason. Jason Jordan, SI at Twitter, Jason C. Jordan at Instagram, and everywhere all the time, SI.com. I want to definitely tell you guys that we're doing a story on your guy, Gus the Bus, this week. More in-depth story about his rise. And so that'll be out, I believe, on Thursday. But definitely interesting. Definitely something you probably want to read.
Stoked to hear that. You know, I'm the driver of the Gus Bus. I love that dude.
Yeah.
We could do another show on Gus, but let's jump into Kamari McGee, because I really want your take on Kamari, who is also transferred in this offseason, freshman last year, UW Green Bay, started as a freshman, was really one of their one or two best offensive players, played really well against some bigger teams. What are your thoughts on his game? What did you see with Kamari McGee?
I really liked him. I think he played with Wisconsin Playground in the UA, so I saw him, on the circuit a bunch. Just a pit bull, man. I mean, but he's small, and I think they're being nice saying he's 6 feet. I don't know if he's 6 feet, but when they got him, I said, he's gonna be their best player, and he in essence was. I mean, he was a leading scorer. Just a pit bull, locks up 94 feet, true floor general, great vision. He's strong though, like he's a strong, quick, small, shifty, gets to his spots with ease, but always has his heads up. He's a guy who's thinking 3 plays ahead. So just a true floor general, and a guy who I definitely will definitely expect to earn minutes, because he's just too good to sit. But he's going to be like a fan favorite. Like, he's just a workhorse, man. I've always liked this game. Always liked this game.
You know what I love about him, and I think we talked about this a little bit with Klesmit. In the portal, you got to find something a little different that can fit a role onto your team.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin, just for a long time, not just this year's team, they haven't had like a quick, shifty, kind of explosive, tough little guard, right? And you need that dude sometimes, like that.
No, absolutely.
And I think he fits that bill. How do you see him kind of coming off the bench and being, in my mind, he's going to be a bit of a spark plug?
100%. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. Definitely a guy who's going to bring energy, a guy who's going to ignite the offense off the bench. And he gets to it. You're not staying in front of him. Like, that's not happening. I've never seen, and I mean never. Like, I remember him vividly. So I've never seen somebody just stay in front of him consistently. Like, he's going to get to his spots, and he can score at all 3 levels. But he's a guy who's going to dictate pace, which is usually a frantic pace, because that's just how he plays. He plays very energetic, and he's exactly what you want coming off the bench. Exactly, to a T. And especially at the lead guard position, right? He's the igniter, and he's a guy who's going to get the teammates up. He's going to bring it. It's infectious with him. He's that guy. He's like energy guy, but a skilled energy guy. I mean, at that position, I mean, that's a godsend.
Is he a guy, if things break right a couple years down the road, is he a starting Big Ten point guard, or is he always kind of that 6th man?
No, I know he 100%. He could start. He could definitely. I expect him to be a starter. So yeah, I mean, he's definitely a guy who. I mean, I really like him. Like, so be clear. And he played for a really good team. Like, Wisconsin Playground is one of the best teams in the UA. But he was, one of their best players, if not their best player. And so I think, he's a guy who you guys are going to love. So he'll be a fan favorite, like, today. So, but I think he's a guy who could, he could make an all-league team. Like, he's that good.
And he's somebody that I thought was underrated, because he went to UW Green Bay, and they were terrible. Like, that was just a really bad team. Yeah. And so he shot 27% from 3. But when you go and look at some of his shots he's taking, like he's not getting open looks. It's a lot of late shot clock stuff, right? Because they need him to create. I think being on that team brought his efficiency down just because he had to do so much with not a lot around him.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's. I had this conversation. I won't even say who it was, but there's a guy who's going to a school, right? And so he's really good. I'll just say it. G.G. Jackson, when he's going to South Carolina, he was head to care. Everybody knows this story, and at this point, and everybody's like, Jason, what do you think? How good is he going to be? I said, well, somebody's got to pass him the ball. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to be the best player. So congratulations, you're the best player. But now the defense can key in on you, right?
Right.
And so when I always say when hands go up, percentages come down. When two hands go up, percentages come way down. So, I think that was the spot Kamari was in, where people were able to key in on him. They're like, okay, we can plan for that, for what he does. Because the rest of the team, I mean, no shade, to your point, they weren't a very good team. So when you give me a week or a couple of days to key in on what you do best, and team defense wise, and that's a lot of that is what he saw. He always had somebody in his face and stuff like that, to your point. Your percentages are going to come down. It's going to affect you. And I think that's part of the reason that he left.
Was this another place where we call it Klesmit hitting a single, hitting a double? This one again, and I'm not trying to be overly optimistic here. I really like the McGee pickup. I liked it. Yeah. I'm liking it even more now that you talk about him.
Yeah, he's
but this is another, right? This is another single, double, triple. This is just another really solid addition.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely single, double, triple, double or triple. Yeah. He went halfway to third base. Let's say it like that. He made you checked in. Yeah. He took 5 steps toward third base. Yeah.
No, I love it. Thank you, Jason, so much. Jason Jordan, Locked On's basketball recruiting director. We're going to link all of his social media stuff into the show so you can follow him. Very, very worthwhile time. Jason, thank you so much for jumping on as always.
Thank you, man. All
right. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, everybody. I want to thank everyone for listening again to the show. Jason Jordan, a very, very insightful guest as always. Please go check out his work on Sports Illustrated. And we're going to come back at you tomorrow. A bunch more stuff coming up. As always, check out Locked On Big Ten for your next listen. Locked On Big Ten, Nate Dickinson take you around the Big Ten Conference, all the news and notes, everything going on with our rivals. You want to check that out as the season's coming up on Wisconsin, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.